Hi guys, weekly market outlook today on a Monday. Bit of a later one because we wanted to check out the crypto market, which has been moving to higher levels to our liking actually, and to your liking potentially as well. Welcome back to our channel and check out how things go from your side, please. Let's start with currency pairs as usual. The Eurodollar is moving to higher levels still and looking extremely positive. However, the market looks like ready and ripe for a correction and for potentially a weaker market motivation here before maybe then the upside potential might be resumed. That's the story. That's the market momentum, at least for this currency pair, as we expect. On the long-term chart, the market might still show us upside motivation, yet we still need a breakout to higher levels above this zone, the mentioned zone, which then obviously kind of might start to cause the markets to appreciate. First of all, markets look like in a corrective pattern, and that's the Australian dollar also telling us for now. Now, with this technical movement here, we could see that the upside is going to be continuing, but the momentum first looks like kind of on the weaker side of things, which could kind of potentially impact the market momentum towards a retracement zone. The 50 moving average might be the technical pattern, the technical support area, which is going to be retested at first. Aussie weakness obviously goes along with as well the equity market. The S&P 500 is looking set to correct as well further. The market seems to kind of be in a waiting pattern for now. Upside obviously working out well. However, we can see that a bit of a detour might be in the making, where the previous breakout obviously might actually act as a strong support area if we see the market correcting at least further. S&P in a way weakening. First of all, here we have other markets which currently do the same. The oil market, for example, is still extremely positive. Could be a sign of further demand. Oil prices in high demand will rise, obviously kind of driven by economic activity, a rise in economic activity at least. We shall see how this market performs, because medium term we see that this is also still a kind of in a corrective mode, right? And the 50 moving average right on the weekly charts pattern, where we are still currently kind of trending at, might cause some momentum to lower levels and also maybe just causing the market momentum to weaken further. However, in between, we are now in between those zones, and they might just give us some further waiting pattern as the sideways momentum is currently seemingly at least underway. The silver and gold market, equally interesting. Silver breaking higher. We are trading above the 38.50 zone, which is still giving us some room for upside motivation. Yet, the market had kind of already driven itself towards higher levels. Our option, which we sold, expired worthless last week on Thursday, which is good. And right now, we see some room for a further corrective movement as well. Why that? The breakout zone here caused the market to retrace again somewhat further in the coming weeks thereafter. The same is expected to be at current levels as well. Silver is trading at higher numbers, higher figures here, and the market momentum near the $40 range might just be in line with a further move to the downside. Should we see dollar strength, we might see as well that the silver market is going to weaken again further. Downside momentum obviously potentially being on the cards. Any further weakness here in this market might unleash this weaker market motivation, which is, by the way, the same story for gold. Gold currently kind of facing some setbacks potentially. Influenced by strength in the dollar, we might see this market correcting to the downside as well. However, at the moment, the upside motivation is kind of clearly visible again as well. And the upside momentum might still cause positive motivation, positive momentum to continue further. Back to the crypto space here, we see Ethereum looking extremely positive. We mentioned this early on. If we will be able to trade above this 50 moving average, that's the monthly chart, we might see the market getting another uplift here. And that's exactly what's happening, driven by cryptos like mother of all tokens, Bitcoin. The altcoin season seems to start its momentum right now. The upside kind of continuing, Bitcoin higher, Ethereum we mentioned, XRP might be ready to break the high points here. And then now we see that this market trend, this positive market trend, looks like some worthwhile opportunity here to invest in this market, maybe at some point again. Solana, we are still long as well, hasn't started moving higher much. And Dogecoin, well, it's not doing anything much further. So let's concentrate on Bitcoin and Ethereum for now, because those are the two tokens which look like the ones which might perform best in the next couple of trading days moving forward. On our weekly market outlook today, the data for this upcoming week, we have Canadian figures, consumer prices expected to fall. Falling prices obviously would go hand in hand with the weakness in the Canadian dollar to maybe continue. The dollar, the gearing up potential stream and momentum potentially ready to cause the Canadian dollar currency pair to rise even further. And that's exactly how we see this market here. The EuroCAD obviously slightly weaker, and the Canadian dollar might be ready to kind of push higher again. The weekly chart trading at a very strong support zone right now might be interesting to observe. Either way, if the market breaks away from this zone, we could see that the upside might kind of continue. However, when the month of July is going towards the final and last days, we could see as well that the market falls. So best idea potentially here, a breakout to the upside. Should we see weaker data out of Canada this week, might kind of give the market some push to higher levels. We got also CPI data from the US, and in the States, we should be able to see a rise. Donald Trump stated 30% tariffs coming over on imported products from Europe. Mexico, same story. So the headlines here, as basically also the Financial Times report, could actually trigger another negative momentum in the equity sector. The S&P pretty much reactive right now in a tiny mode at least. The Nasdaq is doing the same story, and with that, obviously, we have a potential chance that a correction could be on the cards, especially given this strong V-shaped recovery we've seen here fairly recently after the fallout in April. Momentum to the upside might be on the cards at some point. However, corrective pattern, corrective movement might be the one to focus on at first. In other words, what else do we have coming up this week? And there are still a few not extremely important, but some news events. We got consumer prices from the UK, 3.4%, expected unchanged in a way. Recent figures have been at these figures, and at those levels could be kind of quite interesting, as well as the PPI data. Producer prices here obviously are expected to rise slightly. And with all those kind of protective Donald Trump measures, we might expect that finally US data will get another lift here. And a rise in consumer prices should actually also support the US dollar. The greenback might hence obviously gear up some momentum. Towards the end of the week, we got on Thursday some numbers from the US. Retail sales are more like backward-looking figures, as well as the employment claims, which are kind of in similar levels. They have always been like in this range here, so only a big change, a big deviation from the mean or from the expectancy could gear up the market momentum, but the earlier data, in particular, obviously in regards to those numbers, might move markets. How to trade the markets now? We'll wait for the breakout of such zones. Plus, looking at the dollar against the Japanese yen, there has been not too much of a momentum here right now. The market started to get a strong uplift already last week. A breakout here, and the 50 moving average might be the turning point here or the trigger point here. Any push back to the downside could be used for selling opportunities at those levels, and any break to the upside might cause the market to push back to higher levels, as the market support here is kind of quite strong, and this triangle pattern might just be what's needed in order to kind of qualify for either the direction for the upside, which is the current shorter term trend, or long term for more maybe downside momentum, where the market still needs to break the low points, and any breakaway again out of that zone is what's potentially giving these markets some further momentum. Guys, on that that note, please leave your comments under the video and don't forget to subscribe to our channel as well. Wish you all the best. Happy trading for this current trading week. See you then, guys. Take care. Have a good one. Ciao.